Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
A magic beyond anything you could ever imagine.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Sagrera Farms on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day.
You really think that's the best idea?
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
It's quite a piece of work.
Hour 2. Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, working towards the weekend. Appreciate you hanging out with us. We're brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. I went back and looked at the box score from Danny Lockenmeyer's outing against LSU just to see who he struck out. Had 3 strikeouts in that outing. He got Ethan Fry with 2 outs in an inning. Came back in the next inning and struck out Luis Hernandez. And in the following inning, got Derek Curiel on strike. So got Fry, Luis Hernandez, Derek Curiel as a freshman.
So he's the next Zach Cowan.
He could be the greatest pitcher in the history of the program, is what I'm telling you.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm just saying because, they played Wofford.
He did.
And then,
it is.
Yeah.
You weren't? Were you not listening to the last segment?
Not really.
I went through a little bit of that.
I was watching the Cubs game.
Good. I went through a little bit of that in the last segment. That's okay. Some people may have just been tuning in here.
Yeah, every 20 minutes turnover.
Yeah. Look, Luke Holman, Chris Stanfield. He's seen some guys that they've brought in via the portal, and Danny Lockenmeyer is next. So we talked about that at the end of the hour. If you missed it, go catch it on demand. That's a guy that's coming in to LSU. Keith Law wanted to talk about guys that were leaving college baseball in his piece on The Athletic today. And I saw the headline, and it grabbed me and said, Liam Doyle and 6 other MLB draft prospects who might reach the majors fastest. And I'm going, okay, so let me take a look at that. And I agree with him with Liam Doyle because Doyle profiles more as a reliever with that herky-jerky wind-up. You saw how psycho he was in the regional when he came in to close that Monday game. I think that was against Wake. It was. He's just he may be a starting pitcher in Major League Baseball, but I think Liam Doyle could pitch in a Major League bullpen right now. I'm not saying he would be an all-star right now, but I think he could go out there with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball and that breaking ball and get some outs in the bullpen. So if somebody takes him in this draft that wants a fast riser or a fast mover in the bullpen, I think Doyle makes a ton of sense. But I obviously wanted to look at it from a perspective of, okay, does he have any LSU guys on this list? And Anderson would clearly be the first guy that I thought of. And Anderson is number 2 on Keith Law's list there. Said he ended up leading D1 in strikeouts, might have the most complete arsenal of any pitcher in the draft class. I expect him to start in Double-A whenever he makes his pro debut. Law says because he pitched into late June and ended up with 119 innings, that's 23 more than Doyle, by the way. I don't think Anderson will throw it all this year after the draft, nor should he. And then, of course, Keith Law, as he always does, and look, this is analyzing the draft, so that's fine. But he did put in parentheses, he worked harder than any other starters in this draft with 2 starts of 130 pitches or more. So don't think Keith Law wasn't paying attention in Norman and in Omaha to those 2 Cade Anderson starts. But he thinks Anderson could be a very fast riser. I do too. I do not believe that Cade Anderson is going to quickly be moved up to join someone's bullpen. There are 2 different routes here for pitchers. The Rays yanked David Price up as quick as they could. They were the Devil Rays then, to help him in the bullpen because they were in a pennant push. And that happens sometimes. But the Pirates were not going to yank Skeens up into the bullpen. They weren't in position to do it in the standings wise, and he's too valuable to their roster. And the Cubs have 2 prospects right now. One's Ben Brown. They pulled him up to help out of the bullpen. One's Cade Horton, who pitched against Ole Miss in the College World Series Championship. They were going to wait until there was a starting spot available to bring him up. And Anderson falls into that category. He will join a professional organization when it's time to start. That's what Aaron Nola did. That's what Paul Skeens did. That's what is likely for Cade Anderson at this point. So it may take a little bit more time than perhaps Doyle, but I like the fact that Keith Law thinks Anderson's a fast riser. Now, if I told you that there was one more Tiger on this list, I'm asking, Beck, I'll ask you, who do you think is the other Tiger on this list that could quickly move through a system from this team to a major league roster? in this draft?
Yeah. I don't. That's a good question. I maybe if I feel like Ethan Fry just hits so well that he can. I feel like he could. I don't know. That would be my. I think he's just a really good hitter. I think he could make it far enough with that, but I don't. That would be my best guess.
The quickest route to a major league team is in the bullpen because they have a lot of them and they're volatile. So now if I give you that frame.
Well, if Chase Shores goes, I would say Chase Shores.
Chase Shores will be going, and Chase Shores is on this list, which I was a little bit surprised by. But then you think about it and like, okay, because as Keith Law writes here, like Shores lost his rotation spot in mid-April. He had a 5.12 ERA as a starter. But he moved to the bullpen. He hit 100 miles an hour 47 times in the NCAA tournament. In the NCAA tournament, Shores hit 147 times. He's got a two-seam fastball that sinks. He says his slider is at least a 55 on the 20/80 scale, and then that slider can get up to 91 miles an hour. Law writes he can't start as is because lefties had a 412 OP on base percentage against him in the spring, but several of his postseason outings, including the one that closed out the national championship, showed his upside as a sinker slider guy in relief. Somebody might select him and try to start him, but this only applies if somebody immediately puts him in the bullpen with the goal of having him get to the major leagues quickly. Yes. Like, I would immediately take Liam Doyle over Chase Shores for like 3 reasons. 1, left-handed. 2, more proven at the college level. 3, has real chance, like has starting production and throws more strikes. But Shores has big league stuff. When you pair 101 with sink to a 91 mile an hour slider, like that plays every level, SEC, Omaha, AA, AAA, big leagues, National League, American League plays. So this is very interesting. And it should also, for those that are LSU fans that go, wait, he still has his leverage, and wait, he could come back and be a starter, and he could boost his draft value. All that's true. Chase Shores could absolutely come back, start for a year, improve his draft stock, and make more money in next year's draft. It is literally possible. Also, he throws 100. He's 6'8". He showed 3. If you count the SEC tournament, then the regional, then SEC tournament, super regional, Omaha, 3 outings, brilliant. And there are scouts all over those things. Somebody's taking him in the first 2 rounds, and that's going to be very lucrative. The odds that he comes back and becomes the 3rd pick in the draft are not very good. It's bird in the hand type deal. You've already done enough to go really high in the 2nd round. This is not like a guy who just couldn't get it together and it's just all tools and nothing else. This is a guy who put awesome stuff out there late in the season. So it's very, very, very unlikely that Chase Shores returns. I would put the probability at far less than 5%. And Keith Law is telling you this right here, that he's one of the 6 potential fastest movers in this draft class. The other thing that I wanted to make very apparent here, and just pay attention to this because it's so important this time of year with the portal and then what we're talking about as far as the health of college baseball nationally. Here are the names on this list. Riley Quick, right-handed pitcher, Alabama. Ike Irish, catcher, outfielder, Auburn. Chase Shores, reliever, LSU. Gage Wood, right-handed pitcher, Arkansas. Liam Doyle, starting pitcher, Tennessee. Cade Anderson, starting pitcher, LSU. That's 6 guys from one conference. They're all from the SEC. And then Jamie Arnold from Florida State. 1 ACC. It's fine if you want to get on the internet and get on Twitter and say, hey, the SEC is overrated. Look, they got 13 teams in and only 2 of them got to Omaha. Whole league's overrated. It's a joke. The selection committee does this and does that. Well, how's this? The SEC had 2 in the top 4, won the national championship again, and Keith Law is saying that of the 7 fastest potential movers in this draft, 6 play in the SEC. There is one league in that sport that truly matters. It doesn't rule out the possibility that everybody else has a chance to get hot and do something special. But if you want to jump to the keyboard on Selection Monday, jump to the keyboard after the regional when Alabama loses to Miami and when Auburn can't beat Coastal and you want to jump down Georgia's throat because they can't close the game out in the 9th inning and you think it's hilarious that Vanderbilt got eliminated on their own field by a 3 seed or 4 seed, like, that's fine if you want to go ahead and act ignorant. But the fact is that it's going to bear itself out time and time and time and time again. All the good players are going one place. And that's going to be the reason that Omaha is going to be full of SEC teams most years and that the draft is going to be very SEC heavy. It's not to suggest that there aren't good players in other leagues. It doesn't suggest that. I think Rock Chalowski at UCLA is a great player. I think Wake has churned out 4 years worth of excellent players. Florida State's got a great program. But when you just boil it down big picture, the league's not overrated. It's dominant in every single facet of college baseball. And it's, I think, what makes that 30-game grind so amazing week in and week out for 10 weeks, what gives you an advantage come regional time when you don't have one in your regional, and maybe is not the most healthy thing for the sport. I was glad that the West was represented a little bit in Omaha. I don't know if it showed itself very well, but it was represented. I think that's going to be the outlier when we look at a sample size of 5 to 10 years, that the SEC will generally get 3, 4, 5 teams in Omaha, not 1 or 2. And the draft numbers bear it out. So do the championships. Glad LSU won this one. We'll talk to Chris Blair about that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. Look, I know that when we talk about insurance, if you're a business owner, if you're a risk manager, if you're a CFO, like the first thing that you want to think about as far as insurance goes is what's the premium? And that is understandable. And Jonathan Carbo and his team at the Highland Insurance Group understand that that's got to be part of the conversation. But it can't be the only part of the conversation. Let them make sure your insurance program responds properly. Let them audit it for free. So often, brokers cut corners to cheapen prices, to win business, and make money. And then something bad happens, and you got to have an uncomfortable conversation about how you paid for insurance and it's not responding properly. Just make sure your program is in order and let Jonathan Carver and his team of experts audit that policy, show you their findings for free, and determine whether or not you need to make serious considerations. It's the Highland Insurance Group. They're here in Baton Rouge. They can help you out statewide. They're an independent broker, have dozens of markets they can place your commercial insurance in. It's the Highland Insurance Group. Find them online at HighlandIG.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Glad to be back home from Omaha. I know another guy who's glad to be back from the nation's heartland, but enjoyed our time up there. Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, was on the call for national championship number 8, second baseball national championship for Chris. Joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, man. It is great to be back home, but you're exactly right, man. That was an absolute blast, the 12, 13 or so days that we were up there. And I want to publicly thank you for stepping in for the first 2 games. You did a fabulous job, as you always did. And we had a ton of fun. And, again, just a lot of memories. And congratulations to Jay and the Tigers getting it done.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been a 2025 LSU trip without a brain delay that cut a game in half. But we got it done, and I appreciate you for having me up there in the booth. It was a thrill for me. It was awesome. This one, a lot of folks are talking about the contrast between this one and 2023. Do you see them as different as most do?
Yeah, I do, and I think you and I have talked about it, and I probably mentioned it to you at some point in that rain delay last Monday. But, in 2023, again, if you look at a college baseball season, and I'm the first to believe and subscribe to the fact that winning it all in that sport is very difficult. Now, I get it. It's difficult in all sports, but just the gauntlet, the season, all of that. So in 2023, Hunt, I felt like we had more known commodities, meaning okay, we know what these guys can do. And I think Paul Skeens, as great as he was, may have been the one guy that we were like, well, let's see how this works out. And, that shows you what we know. But it almost was as if they don't get to Omaha, it might be a disappointing season, just simply because they were so talented and they were so experienced. And I don't know that I ever felt like that with this team. Not that I didn't think they had the capability of doing it. I just thought, it's going to be tough to do it. I mean, the SEC is absolutely loaded. It's going to be a grind to get through the regular season conference schedule. And then, lo and behold, chances are you might run into an SEC team somewhere along the line in the postseason. So that's how I compare and contrast the two, Hunt. And again, none of that's scientific, none of it's fair. I just think this team just was too determined. They were just too dog-headed. They were able to put things behind them very quickly, good and bad. And I think that's one of the characteristics that this team has that stands out to me is that, they were left for dead after the Auburn series. People were jumping off cliffs when they lost to Carolina in the opening game. You lose to Arkansas Little Rock in the regional, and maybe we just ain't got it this year. And credit to those guys. They just weren't buying any of it. They believed in each other. They were tough and together. And, I think there are major differences between the two, but the one common thread is a guy by the name of Jay Johnson. And I'll take that just about any day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir here in Baton Rouge about that one. One of the guys that I think embodied all of that you were just talking about is Chase Shores, because this is his draft year, and he was in the rotation, then he wasn't, and then his numbers weren't great, and then all of a sudden, what we watched over the last month, save one bad outing against Little Rock, was amazing. Your thoughts on Chase?
Yeah, he's one that I've talked about all week long, just simply because, again, when you ask me to describe this team, I go back to the known commodities of 2023, and they were certainly guys who pulled a Chase Shores. I mean, we were all joking in Omaha, the Nate Ackenhausen of the 2025 College World Series. But to me, it just shows the development. And that's something Jay talks about all the time, and it's not just lip service. I mean, it's something that he and the staff are dedicated to, and it's a matter of going and finding the best players in the country, which they've done a tremendous job doing. But that's not when the work is over. That's just when the work begins, trying to develop these guys. And the job that Coach Yeski and this entire staff did with Chase Shores, to watch him go from a guy that I think, honestly, if we look within ourselves, early part, middle part of the season, we were always nervous when he came in because we knew the stuff was good, but is it going to be on? Is he going to be consistent? All of that was, I was thrilled and excited to see him come out of the bullpen. And I don't know if I'm the only person that felt that way. But you're right. Over the last month plus, I mean, he was sensational, and credit to him for the work he did, and credit to the staff for developing, because it'd be great to open on February 14th or 15th every year and have a team fully matured and fully developed and go 56-0. I just don't think we're going to see that. So the fact that we can watch these teams get better and see these guys when it really matters step up tells me all I need to know that LSU baseball is in very good hands.
A lot of times over the last month, Danny Dickinson would square to bunt, and Buzzy would go nuts, and I mentioned it in the broadcast up in Omaha, and Bill Frank said, sometimes I want to go nuts, and then you look up and go, well, he's playing with a broken hand. What does that say about him and his level of play playing through that?
Yeah, I think he's another great story. I mean, I know that we spend a lot of time, and probably deservedly so, talking about the transfer portal and nobody stays and everybody's moving around and all of that. To me, when I look at a guy like Daniel Dickinson, who has done nothing but put in work for the game of baseball, and then gets to an opportunity at LSU, the premier program in the entire country, and then plays as consistent as he did throughout the season. And then, oh, by the way, we find out that he's got a broken bone in his hand that he pretty much played the entire postseason with. I mean, again, tough and together. I mean, I don't know how you sum it up any better than that. It's just two words with an and between them, but that's exactly what Daniel Dickinson. Again, it just I got to go get it done. Team needs me. And if I got to lay down a bunt, I'm going to lay down a bunt. And sometimes I'm going to do it because I think I can beat it out for a hit.
Yeah, and he did twice in Omaha. Just an amazing effort. Bear Jones, a guy that will now kind of leave his legacy, which I've argued in favor of. I think it's incredible to look at him statistically now with 2 titles. You got to watch his whole career. What do you think?
No, he's incredible. And I tell you, last night it got me a little emotional. I was in the studio on campus making sure we got the audio feed out to all of the stations. And so I wasn't at the box, but I was watching. And his talk or his speech or his comments to me really, I don't want to say changed my opinion, but it really hit me that this is a guy who's very thankful for the opportunity. I think his parents, who I've known of his dad for a long time because of his tenure as a very good football player at Georgia Southern in George, but he and his wife, I mean, for Jared to say, look, I wouldn't be here without starting with my parents, traveling me all around the state of Georgia and the Southeast for travel ball tournaments, Coach Johnson and the staff here for believing in me and challenging me to get better. I just thought what he said just sums up everything you want about your athletic department, everything you want about your baseball team or your football team or your, women's basketball team. You want players to have that type of success, Hunt, and still understand that there were people who helped you along the way, because I think that turns, Jared's going to have a great baseball career, but when that day is over, Jared Jones is going to be a great human being and a great citizen. And that with all the hits and home runs and RBI and all that stuff, that's what I'm most proud of for him. And I thought he encapsulated that last night.
It was cool to see a guy do exactly what he envisioned when he made the decision to come back to LSU 11 months ago. I thought that was incredible to watch over the course of the season in there in Omaha. Last one here, Chris. I appreciate your time. One of the staples of the Jay Johnson era has been coaching turnover because guys have moved on to Power 5 head coaching positions. Right now, it kind of looks like the staff's going to run it on back. How big a deal is that, and how much fun has it been to watch these guys go to work?
Oh, it's huge. We were getting on the bus to head to the airport on Monday, and I saw Coach Jordan, and he was all fired up. He's like, "Man, I watched that final out. That was awesome." And I said, "Coach, I got to tell you, you're gonna. I don't know how long you're gonna be here. It's not gonna be long. You've had so much success, but I got to tell you, it made me extremely happy when I saw you were going to be retained. And his day is going to come. He's too good a coach, too good a recruiter." But yeah, I think that's huge. And for Nate Yeske to be able to continue that continuity, I think it's important. And, Jay's even owned up to that, he gives the joke that he must be a horrible coach or he's hiring good coaches, one or the other, because they've all been leaving. But hey, I had my first AD years ago. Sam Baker hired me at Georgia Southern. And again, when you're at a mid-major school, if you have a coach that does well in any sport, get ready. They're not going to be there long. But Sam would always say when a coach would leave, that's what you want. You want the best coaches. And if nobody wants your coaches, you're not doing a good job. So I'm glad that LSU has made the investment to keep those guys here, because I think, 2 and 3 seasons, 2 titles, I think we're seeing another set of glory days ahead of us as long as Jay and this coaching staff is here, because they are relentless. They never stop. As I told people in Omaha, if people here at LSU, they knew when Nick Saban was here. Nick Saban had a ton more hobbies than Jay Johnson has, because he has none. It's baseball, 24/7.
That's it. Well, another awesome school year in the books. Chris, very much appreciate you giving us some time every single week. I'm sure in about 2 months' time, I'll be texting you to come pick up Fave's shirts and hats and stuff. So I'll make sure that I got your number stored, and we'll get that done.
Yeah, I'll make sure I get all your gear for you, and look forward to a fantastic fall. Enjoy your summer.
Sure will. You too, Chris. He is Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers. I want to elaborate on one thing, because I'm going to change topics here in the next segment that he talked about there. And he talked about Josh Jordan, and that's not a guy that gets a ton of attention because he's not the pitching coach and he's not the hitting coach. Nate Yeske's going out there to talk to the players, the pitchers during games. He's the guy that's in charge of the numbers on the scoreboard when LSU gives up 0 runs or gives up 9 runs. You think about offense, you think about Jay Johnson, you look at Mark Wanaka. Josh Jordan is the third base coach, which is a fairly public position, but he's the recruiting coordinator, and he's just a great baseball mind. He's great working with the catchers, but no one pays attention to the guy that works with the catcher's defense very often. But I assumed he was going to get the Duke job, and I talked about this earlier in the week, but it just made too much sense. He's from North Carolina. He spent a decade at Duke. Their head coach is moving on to go be the head coach at Virginia, and it just made way too much sense for Josh to take that job. I'll tell you this, frankly, I wrote the story. Josh Jordan takes the Duke job and saved it into our website at LouisianaSports.net. So when that broke on Twitter, or if I found out about it, I could publish it and didn't have to write it then. I thought it was a foregone conclusion. And that was right about the time LSU was closing out the regional and the super. And I remember, and honestly, candidly, I don't remember if it was the Little Rock, but I think it was West Virginia. Yeah, that makes sense because Duke lost in the super. Yeah, okay, West Virginia in the super. And I just assumed that would be the end for him here. This would be the final year. And I watched his reaction to clinching the super regional and going to Omaha. And the guy was the most animated of the coaches at the last strike. And I thought he was looking to go to Duke, and maybe he still was at that point. But that's a guy that really, really likes it here at LSU. And I think that the fact that he didn't take the Duke job reflects that. And I'm telling you, as an LSU fan, as long as he's here, that's a good thing. Jay Johnson will find another recruiting coordinator when Josh Jordan takes a head job, and he will. And if Nate Yeske leaves, he'll find the next great pitching coach, because he does. But as long as Josh Jordan is here, that is a very big positive for LSU baseball. I just want LSU fans to kind of be aware of that. He's a big, big force in what LSU does over there. And when you think about recruiting, and you think about development of some players, and you think about team chemistry and camaraderie, and a guy that works hard and knows what he's doing, there's a reason why a really good coach at Duke kept him around for a decade, and there's a reason why a great coach at LSU has kept him around, and there's a reason why he likes to be in LSU. That it's a good fit. And Josh Jordan's a big piece of what LSU's doing over there at the box. All right, let's change subjects when we come back. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Thursday shows brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Every single cow there at Sagrera Farms is a process. It's a 3-year journey. It's genetically mated to create the finest in beef, top 1% in America. They're raised on grass, finished on grain, aged 35 to 45 days. And they've got animals up there right now that are ready for you to have for this summer season of grilling. Steaks, fillets, ribeyes, strips, flanks, all that. Also ground beef that you can put in the freezer and have incredibly high quality ground beef for months at a time that's been in your freezer thanks to the folks at Sagrera Farms. Sean is incredible at what he does. He's passionate about it. You can get that from 2 seconds in talking to Sean. You just got to give him a phone call and go up and see the farm. Go check it out. I'll give you Sean's number here at the end of this segment, but go see him and take a look at the product. Don't you want to know what you're buying? Isn't that sometimes in question when you go buy your beef? Take all that question out. Go up to Sagrera Farms, get some of the finest beef in the country in the top 1%. Bring that home to your freezer and make sure you've got that. So whenever you're ready to put burgers on the grill, whenever you're ready to grill a steak, you want to do tacos, the flank steak, whatever the case may be, you've got some of the finest beef right here just outside Baton Rouge. So call Sean, 225-719-1723. Again, that's 225-719-1723. Say, hey, I heard about you on Hunt's show. I'd like to come up to the farm and check out the beef. He'd love to have you. Sagrera Farms, they bring you our Thursday shows each and every week. All right, Ross Jackson is just doing incredible work at LouisianaSports.net right now. It is the slower season for the NFL. I'm hesitant to say that there's ever a significantly slow season with the NFL. It's just a monster in our sports culture. But this is the slower time. And Ross is still churning out incredible content every single day at LouisianaSports.net. And one of the pieces he put up just a few hours ago was talking about linebackers. And I'm fascinated personally by the Saints' future at linebacker, because the present and really the future for a long time has been Demario Davis. And he still hasn't, completely fallen off a cliff. Is he still the best linebacker in the NFL? No, I don't think he is. Is he still a really good linebacker? Yeah, I think he is. But his time is coming, right? Like, Father Time is undefeated, and Father Time will beat DeMario Davis. And my opinion is, I'm not saying it's a fact, my opinion is that DeMario Davis will not be on the next great Saints team. That's my opinion. And the question becomes, like, who starts to take some snaps and take some steps along with DeMario Davis? Pete Werner has been solidified as the second option there at linebacker on the inside. But, like, who's next? And that's what Ross kind of dove into today at LouisianaSports.net. And the first name he points to is one that I'm hopeful for, and that's Danny Stutsman. Stutsman, to me, fits the mold of the uber-productive college player who may not have the monster measurables. And the monster measurables generally get picked. You see what's going on in Cincinnati right now with Shamar Stewart, and they're looking at him as a potential superstar athletically, but he wasn't productivity-wise at A&M. Stutzman's not going to wow you with the 40 time. He's not going to wow you with the vertical leap or the first 10 splits on the 40. Cone drill's not going to blow you away. But the productivity at Oklahoma was some of the best in the history of that school. And let me just tell you, they've had some guys that could tackle at that school. I know the Lincoln Riley era wasn't exactly the greatest defensive outfit you've ever seen, but they've had some good ones at Oklahoma. And Stutsman, statistically speaking, is right up there. And one of the stats that really catches your eye with Stutsman is his tackling rate. You're talking about a guy who is about 12% on missed tackles at the college level, which is what DeMario Davis and Pete Werner have been in the NFL. It's a really good number. When you're making 9 out of 10 tackles, you're doing your job. Just the nature of the position with the talent level, especially in the SEC, you're going to miss some tackles on running backs in the hole. Like there's going to be a wide receiver on a screen that you're going to struggle with here or there. But if you're making 9 out of 10 tackles, you're making plays. And that's what Stutsman has been. He had over 100 tackles in each of his final 3 seasons with Oklahoma. So can he win that job? Well, you've got a couple of incumbent players in DeMarco Jackson and Nephi Sewell who have been around. They've been on the roster, have never really broken through. Like, I think you're all aware of those two guys, but you haven't seen them making a ton of plays on Sundays. You've got a second-year player in Jalen Ford who was hurt all of last year. And so those guys have kind of been special teamers. And that's what you would expect when you've got DeMario Davis and Pete Werner on the field. But it's time to start seeing what's next. And I do believe the Saints are in a position to, one, give those guys a lot of reps in training camp that DeMario Davis doesn't really need, give them all the reps in preseason games that DeMario Davis doesn't need, and then probably give them some reps in the season, because are we really talking about a Super Bowl run here? We're not. So give those guys a look. Now, you're talking about another rookie that has joined the fold in Tyreen Powell, who's from Rutgers. He was kind of a pass rusher at Rutgers. He's like 6'5", 250. But he's got a lot of those like freakish athletic traits. So what do they get from him? What do they ask him to do? Isaiah Stallbird moved to safety last year, but right now the Saints roster's got him listed at linebacker. So does he get a look in there? Like, I think this training camp, you're going to see more looks given to more linebackers than you have seen previously. Because, and again, this is an opinion of mine. This is not a fact, but it's an opinion. I think the staff knows, okay, we need DeMario Davis in this locker room. We need him on the field on the first Sunday of the year. He's a big piece to helping us create a culture, because you're not going to find a better pro than DeMario Davis. And all that's very positive. And DeMario Davis is absolutely starting linebacker on the Saints team, and he'll have a great year. But there's got to be an eye, even if it's a wandering eye, on the future. And you've got all these guys who essentially have proven nothing. That's, if I'm going to paint in broad strokes, like, they've proven nothing. So it's time to start seeing if they can prove something. And so I'm very interesting to see what that looks like in training camp and who can win that spot. Ross writes in his piece on LouisianaSports.net that he thinks Stutsman and Sewell seem the most likely to square off directly, while Jackson, Stallbird, Ford, and Powell are going to kind of be on the outside looking in. And that makes sense when you consider the age of Sewell and the fact that he's played a little bit, and then where they drafted Stutsman, which is high enough to get a strong look of making the team, right? So you have some other bodies, but these are the guys. And man, if you could get Danny Stutsman to break through, you're going to hear me continue to bang this drum and bang this drum and bang this drum. The more young, cheap guys you can have to break through, the quicker this thing's going to go. And Stutzman's one of the older players you're going to draft because he's played a lot of football, and you're not talking about a guy who's 20 years old. But he is young enough to come in on a rookie deal and still be in his prime and still be able to move like he did in college. And you just got to find those guys. I can't immediately pull up the draft board and the undrafted free agents and point to the 4 starters that you hope they've gotten. But you've got to find 4. And Shook is a big risk. Big risk. He's going to be the starting quarterback, but is he going to be the long-term starting quarterback? Like, the odds are that Kelvin Banks plays for the Saints a lot longer than Tyler Shook. Now, if Banks can't play a lick, they don't pick up his 4th-year option, and he's down the river in year 5, and Shook becomes a starter, and he's here for a decade. Well, that's not going to bear itself out. But the odds are that the first-round tackle is there longer than the second-round quarterback, and the odds are the second-round quarterback doesn't become a star. But you've got to hope you're defying the odds a little bit. And if you can get beyond those 2 guys and find 2 more starters from this draft, that's a big deal. And Stutsman is very clear one of those options with this team. And there's a room for him to start to make a push at an aging position. I'm not kicking Demario Davis out the door. Don't misunderstand me. I don't need Matt coming back from the beach with his Man of God headband on and kicking me out of the studio because I'm talking negatively about Demario Davis. I'm not doing that. I just know that Demario Davis isn't playing for 10 more years, okay? So somebody's got to step in and take his role. Stutsman feels like a real chance to be that guy. You certainly hope so. That's a look at the Saints for today. If you're looking for Saints content, you can find it on YouTube, Hunt on Saints, and we've transitioned all that YouTube content to wherever you find your podcast. So if you're looking for Saints as you get into the summer months, we got you covered. 1 on LouisianaSports.net with Ross, 2 wherever you find your podcast at Hunt on Saints. Appreciate y'all for checking that out. Step aside, come back, play, take it or leave it. That'll do it for us on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every car that's on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Every single model on the line. All of them. Every car comes with an IHA top safety pick. Some of them come with top safety pick plus. Genesis has one of the safest line of vehicles on the road. And I know that's so important to so many people who are purchasing a new vehicle. You want that stylish ride. You want that comfort. You want all the bells and whistles that come with the brand new car. And that's understandable. Maybe you want the room for the car seats. Maybe it's just you and you want that sleek sedan. But everybody wants a safe vehicle. And Genesis can guarantee you that. Go ask them about it at Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can find them airline at PQ. Chat with one of their brand ambassadors over there and get the full lowdown. They'll get you behind the wheel, whether that's at the dealership or they come to you for a test drive, and you'll see the difference. It's a luxury brand of vehicle at a reasonable price. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge, and you can find them online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Fun show today on this Thursday. Chris Blair talking LSU championship. Also, in the first hour, talked to Joe Healy from SEC Extra, part of the D1 baseball team, about this team and his memory of it. Talked about the national championship celebration. Got a little Saints sprinkled in there. LSU got a transfer pitcher out of the portal that we chatted about. If you want to read more about that, you can at LouisianaSports.net. So lots of that we've done here on this Thursday. Only one more thing to do. Let's take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or believe it.
Presented to you by Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer, crafted by America's oldest brewery. Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Oh, Yingling Flight, huh?
Oh, yeah.
It'd be Flight by Yingling. That's important to get to here. Next generation of light beer. Yingling Flight, whether you're at the pool this weekend, on the grill, out at the lake, if you're looking for light, crisp, refreshing with that great beer flavor, Yingling has got you covered. The oldest beer brewery in America, Yingling. It's Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer.
All righty. First one here. The New Orleans Pelicans selected 2 players last night, Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen. Queen went 13th overall, and he decided to update his LinkedIn profile and made an update, and it says, now starting a new position as professional basketball player for the New Orleans Pelicans. Updating your LinkedIn. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave that.
Leave it alone.
I'm also going to leave an unprotected pick that the Pels dealt away when they figured to not be very good this year. That's a real risky proposition.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of folks that are in the know, and you never know. Like, Joe Dumars came out and was like, we don't know what's going to happen next year. And, like, you hear fans and analysts be like, you don't really know. But most of the national analysts are like, that could be a top 5 pick really easy.
Very
and,
easily.
That just can be risky. You never know. It's a draft. Who knows? But it just felt like a little bit of a forced effort there. As far as Fears goes, of course, I watched him a ton this year in the SEC. Quick, athletic, got some length, doesn't shoot it well at all. That's a problem, but you can develop that in time. But the Pels need a point guard, so hopefully Fears can be the guy.
Yeah, I think he's going to end up getting some good on-job experience because they don't really have a point guard. DeJounte Murray is hurt and will be out for a long time. So those guys are going to get some run, and hopefully the Pels don't win the lottery next year. That would really stink. Next one here, Jacob Wilson, shortstop for the Athletics, not the Oakland Athletics, just the Athletics, has been playing some really good ball this year. He's hitting .347. And an article Jeff Passan wrote, Jacob Wilson attributes some of this success to Fortnite, the video game. He says, quote, kids are going to love this one. Parents are going to hate me. I'm a big believer in video games. It's fast decision-making strategy. I think that gets me ready for the game because when you're in the box, you have to process a lot. So there's some days when I'll wake up and I'll play video games and then I'll go to the field and I'll have a good day. Some days I won't play and don't see the ball well. I think it really helps me train kind of the decision-making that I have to make 6-7 hours later at the baseball field. Fortnite for baseball. Take it or leave it.
I mean, I can't leave this fast enough. You've got to
Leave it alone.
He said it, Hunt. He's playing
got
really well.
to be kidding me.
He's at 347, Hunt.
Well, there's a lot of things you can do that require quick reaction. Why don't you go play whack-a-mole at the local arcade if that's going to help you hit 97-mile-an-hour fastballs? That's insane. That's ridiculous. You know how many gamers there are that rock at Fortnite that would stand up there and wouldn't be able to do anything?
Okay, Hunt.
They can't even catch a fly ball,
okay.
much less hit a slider.
Okay. We understand. I think everyone understands that just because you're good at Fortnite doesn't mean you can play baseball, especially at the major league level. However, he is simply saying that he does think that it helps him.
Wrong. He's incorrect.
Okay.
He is misspoken.
All right.
I support him playing Fortnite if he wants to. I support T-Bob playing Fortnite. He's probably great at it. He went out to the celebrity softball game with Jacques and struck out, I think. So, I don't think that there's a lot of correlation there.
All right. Well, look, I'm just taking the guy's word for it.
All you can do is relay it to me.
That's all I can do.
And then I can shoot it down because it's a terrible idea.
Yes, that's what you did. All right, real quick. Cristiano Ronaldo, he's a soccer player.
Does he play Fortnite? Did that help him?
I don't think he does.
Soccer's not as quick.
No, it's not. He signed a new 2-year contract with Al Nassr, which is in the Saudi Pro League. He already was there. He just signed a 2-year extension, which will reportedly pay him $400 million. Play soccer, kids. Take it or leave it.
Leave it. Don't play soccer. Play baseball. Okay. It's a great sport.
Yeah.
Greatest sport in the world.
I don't think you're going to make... Well, you could make $400 in baseball, to be honest.
Play
at this
Fortnite,
point.
then you'll know how to hit, then you can get $400 million. That's how you got to do it. No. But the Saudis, they can spend some money. They don't get any return on the money, but they spend it very well. That's it for Thursday edition, presented by Sagrera Farms. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand. I have no idea who's hosting AFR next. Not a clue.
Taylor Sharp.
Taylor Sharp is going to drive you home next. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.